Hi, you're listening to the TL podcast. My name is Thomas Le Hoang, and I am interviewing someone who seems ordinary, but who is achieving extraordinary things. That is the quest of this interview. This series is about people who may look like you and I, but who somehow have got a recipe for success, something that they do that is beyond the norm. And I like to find that out. Before we start, just want to let you know, I hardly know these people. They have been selected because they have achieved something in the industry. And I just wanted to put the stress on both themselves and me. For them, it's a podcast. They don't know the direction I'm going to go. They don't know who's going to listen to, and they don't know whether they are going to deliver it right. But for me, it's the same. I don't know about them. Therefore, I have to dig. I have to really find that recipe, because champions sometimes do amazing things, but they don't even know the recipe to their success. By exploring what it is that makes them and maybe their own little secret for success, we can share with the rest of you and help you reach success faster. Enjoy. All right. Alex, how are you?
I'm well, thank you. And yourself?
Very good. Thank you so much for doing this today.
Pleasure.
I'd like to tell everyone we just met 5 seconds ago, so we haven't had the opportunity to say anything else, but how are you? And I like it this way because it allows me to really go and dig. Obviously, I've done a little bit of research about you, and I had a bit of deep. I got lost in deep thought because I'm thinking, hold on, now this guy here is a very different kind of interview. So, first of all, you're a sales agent for McGrath.
That's right. Yes.
The story, everyone can find it out. There's plenty of videos about you that tells people how you struggled for 11 years, how you went from making about $380,000 to now being called a 10 times agent. There's articles out there that shows how you made, what is it? You sold 10 properties in 5 days, I think worth $23 million in 2021, wasn't it?
Wow. Okay. I don't remember, but that sounds right.
Yeah, there's an article out there. There's things out there that really shows people why you're number one sales agent for McGrath, why 3 years in a row now you are number one sales agent in Queensland. So I would like to dig into something, because in real estate, there's a lot of things about success and people who do well, but there's also not many people who are realizing that, hold on, this guy wasn't a success a few years ago. All right. So can we go back there and maybe dive into that moment? Because I think it's probably time for you to share that, because some people may find a bit of inspiration from that, and will find also the power to get into a different realm of their life, you know? So I know that you had, what is it, an illness that said that you were going to be struggling in what is it, in 2023, wasn't it? In 2015, you got that news, right? So do you want to share that?
Sure. Yeah. So, Thomas, my background is I have been in the industry since 1999, which is 25 years this year. However, my first, I'd say 11 to 12 years, I struggled. The pivotal moment for me was a health diagnosis in 2011, where I went into the specialist. I had issues with my back and my spine, and since I was 14 years old, but never figured out exactly what it was. That day, he mentioned that I had a condition which he said would sort of stop me from driving or being able to tie my shoelace in 10 years' time. That was in 2011. So in 2011, I got a very, a bad health diagnosis, which he was recommending to get out of real estate. He said, you're not going to drive a car, so you need to find a different job. I took that literally, and in the medical profession, similar to the legal profession, it's about managing the client's expectation. And I think he was probably exaggerating things. Maybe he thought that was accurate, but I took it literally. So from that day on, that moment on,
No, no, you go too fast. You go too fast. Don't. Otherwise,
take me back.
it's going to be the same video as many other videos that's been already done
Fair.
about you. So what happened at that moment? Because you were struggling as a real estate agent then, right?
I was struggling is probably a bit exaggerated. I wasn't able to write more than 500,000 in my first 12 years. So
Hold on.
yeah, you could say struggling.
So maybe I've read it wrong, but did you have to borrow $5,000 of your parents to pay for the car and the places?
I did, yeah. So in 2011, I was financially in a bad place because the floods hit in Brisbane, and
Yes.
I had a very average business in real estate already, and it became worse because all my listings dried up, the pipeline dried up, my sales crashed, the streets were a mess. There was not much activity. I was financially in a bad place and psychologically in a worse place.
Yeah,
That
is crazy. That is crazy because there's plenty of people out there for the moment going, hold on, the wealthy COVID effect has finished. Interest rates gone up. I'm struggling now to make money. I mean, I've gone out to buy a brand new car. I've gone out to buy a brand new place. And I thought it was going to keep on going. And a lot of salespeople have not seen a bad market yet. So what happens right at that moment? Now, you know, it's flooded in my area. I can't sell it. And now I just learned about my life. I've just learned something that's going to stop me from living normally. How was that?
If you ask me at that time, I would have said it's probably one of the worst places I've been because I couldn't afford the rent. I had no money in the bank, couldn't afford my car repayments. I had very little hope in my career given the diagnosis. I felt I had already tried to be successful in real estate for more than a decade and not really gotten to anywhere. So I was psychologically at a low point in my life.
Yeah. So you were married, you had a family then?
Married with family, about to have first child.
Okay. You want to share a little bit, or is it like no?
No,
Okay.
there's
Don't let
nothing
me
is
know, okay?
nothing is outside of what I'm happy to discuss.
Okay.
Yeah, look, my son, I was about to have my first child. My son was yet to be born, but I knew that it's going to come. So the day was going to come where I needed to earn an income, and I thought about leaving the industry. In 2011, I looked at getting jobs in other professions, just so I had a stable salary. Even if you offered me $80,000 a year, I probably would have said yes, because at that point I had no money. I had very little prospect of a strong real estate business, given 10 to 12 years of not getting anywhere. My health diagnosis was bad. All of these things made me hit a brick wall, which in retrospect, in hindsight, I needed to hit. I needed to hit. Because if I didn't have that experience then, would I be where I am today in my career? I don't think so.
I get that.
That's the big thing.
I get that. But I also see a lot of people who struggle and then they go home and their spouse tell them, hey, listen, you've been doing real estate for quite a while now. It hasn't really gone us anywhere else. We don't even have the money in the bank. Have a look. You have to go and borrow some money. Get out of there, right? So sometimes the pull is also from the spouse. So you obviously didn't have a spouse who spoke like that language. So
No, not at all, which I'm grateful for now that you mention it, because I can see how that could end up going that way. And my wife has always had belief in whatever I felt was right. She had full trust in me to manage our finances. There was never any influence from her to say you should do this or that, because she had seen that I had managed things reasonably well for a long time, and she felt that I was able to pick it back up. So there was zero pressure to change career. It was all completely up to me. I felt the pressure myself because I felt that I needed to.
Right.
And in that year, I had to borrow money from my parents because I needed to pay the rent, and I didn't have any GCI, any commission coming in, any sales, any listings. So I borrowed $5,000 to help pay the car and the rent, and looked at getting a job outside of real estate. That was 2011. And it's been a very different experience from then onwards.
Yeah, I'm sure there was a lot of down moment there. But so what was the process that got you to go, no, that's it, and wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning and start planning for the future?
Yeah.
What was the process? What was the click?
process? Anxiety, stress, probably you could say, but I channeled that anxious energy into activity. What had changed very suddenly for me was for many years, I had done things in real estate. It hadn't worked. I tried something different. There was really no process to my business. There was no formula. It was give this a go. If it works, let's keep going. If it doesn't, let's stop. And I had a very patchy approach to the industry. I also procrastinated many times consistently in my career, where rather than do the hard thing today, I would say, oh, I don't feel great today. Let me do the hard thing tomorrow. What changed that day was the health diagnosis and the financial difficulty. I had to have a radical change in my life. I had to change career.
Was it that day?
Well, it was the day that the diagnosis came where it really hit me.
Wow.
Because that suddenly I felt, okay, this doctor specialist tells me 10 more years. So if you're going to stay in real estate, and I didn't have any education to get another job, didn't do well at school, didn't have any pedigree, no family connection. It was either real estate or another sales job. And I knew that real estate had very huge upside capacity. I just never experienced it.
Yeah.
So from that day onwards, I said to myself that all of the things you've been avoiding, all of the hard things from now on is a non-negotiable. You've got 10 years to live and make a living in this industry to provide for your wife and your family. Nothing is too scary for me anymore because I lived in a fear state. Everyone does to a degree. My fear before the diagnosis was different. It was fear of not being accepted or being rejected, a fear of not getting the right answer from someone, a fear of failure. That fear, whilst it was there, it got outranked by the fear of not being able to function in life, not being able to drive, not being able to work. The fear of rejection took a sort of a step down. I was like, hey, hang on a sec. This is not a big fear anymore, the fearing of rejection. I don't give a shit if I get rejected. My fear is now, if I can't function in 10 years, how will I live? What am I going to do? I can't rely on anyone else. I've got to make it work. So from that moment onwards, I said, what do I have to do to change my life? From now on, everything is a non-negotiable. And for the first time in my life, time became a very precious commodity, where 10 years was the benchmark to succeed, or there was no plan B. So from then on, that morning, the next morning when I woke up, my psychology around work changed instantly, not progressing to change. It was like, damn, you've got no option. Get it done. Get it done. Suffer was my mentality. Do everything that you've avoided, because the magic is in the work that you're avoiding. And that's the truth. The magic is in the work that you're avoiding. So that became a non-negotiable. I used to negotiate with myself. I wake up in the morning, or sometimes don't wake up in the morning. Yeah, so it's dark. I don't want to wake up. It's cold. The pillow's comfortable. Maybe another 20 minutes. I'll just rest here. That had to be put aside because there was no time to stuff around. Everything was non-negotiable. So anytime I negotiated with myself and said, hey, you want to do this? It was like, non-negotiable, act with force, not with great feeling. I have to say, I forced myself. It was hard. It was uncomfortable. It was completely the opposite of what I wanted to do. But I had already tried to do it the other way for 10 or 12 years. So it wasn't a lack of trying. It was a lack of process. So I had to completely flip the way I did things. And that's what I guess took me on a better path.
What amazes me is how fast you do it, because usually when you get a shock like this, there's a bit of that moment of feeling sorry for yourself. And a lot of people, they want to do that so they get like kumbaya, get embrace from friends and maybe colleagues, even maybe make amends with enemies. I'm still dumbfounded how you can go from the night before or the day before learning the news, and the next day it's like a switch
morning.
on. I mean, that's just amazing. That's just amazing.
Well, I didn't share my diagnosis with many people. So I almost wanted to deny it in my own mind.
Right.
So rather than becoming a part of my identity, I didn't even tell my wife with a full diagnosis. So I didn't share it with her that. So I just couldn't.
If you want me to cut off this part of the podcast, we can. Then she won't know.
You can go take it wherever you like.
Then she won't know.
It's true. So it wasn't a moment for me to be self-sorrow. I find there is an innate, I guess, preference for humans to be victims. Like we always like to think of ourselves when something doesn't go right, that we're the victim mentality. It's very taxing. You can't progress in life with that mentality. I think about all of the blessings that I have in my life. I have to focus on that. And I did back then. I said, hey, I can walk, I can see, I can communicate. There's millions of people in the world that can't do these things. So look how lucky I am. Let me take that and work with that. I couldn't have a different mindset and succeed. You just can't. It doesn't matter what happens to you in life. You're going to have challenges. You're going to go through times where everything goes against you. And you have every right to play the victim. But I can promise you that if you play the victim, you will not progress in your life. You will go down, 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 down. So you either play the victim mentality or you brush that aside and look at all the blessings in your life. And sometimes if you've got things that are going against you in many ways, look at the simple blessings. Can you see? Can you walk? Can you drive? All of these things sound very simple, but really they're quite profound. When you lose those things in life, then you realize how important they are. So just focusing on a different thing, and you have to force yourself because habitually you'll go back into negative mentality. You just got to keep reminding yourself, no, millions of people would trade places with you today. Millions of people all around the world. So be grateful for what you have.
Wow. Okay, so tell me a little bit about what happened within the following month then. Obviously, more hard work, but now half of your brain's worrying about your health. The other half of the brain is thinking, I need to make a living. There's a baby coming up. I mean, I have a family now. How do you juggle with that? Because a lot of people can't do both of these things very well.
I didn't know if I juggled much because I didn't have an alternative. It was either succeed or completely fail in life. So there was no real cushion for me to say, well, I can take a different approach. I found that the first probably 3 to 6 months, my mind constantly went back to negative thinking because I wasn't really getting the results straight away from my activity. But I stuck with a formula. I looked at other agents that had very strong businesses within the McGrath network. These agents were looking after very small patches geographically. They were being very consistent in those patches, but they were taking care of much smaller BDA or farm area to what I was. So I looked at that model. I decided that I'm going to go and speak to everyone in my community. I'm going to door knock them, introduce myself, give them something of value. I was doing market reports back then on the suburb. And I just basically distracted myself with work where I had very little time to think. And when it got to the end of the day, 5, 6 o'clock, then I went to home and that was a different sort of conversation with my wife. But I just kept myself very busy. There was always something to do, either door knock, either make calls or build relationships with valued clients. And that was it. That was my day, night, everything, all my life. But I visualized a lot. I always saw myself in that position of success. I visualized myself getting the listings in the area, visualized getting the sales, shaking hands with the happy client, the happy buyer, the happy seller. A lot of visualization that I truly believe has an impact on your future, which sounds a bit spiritual to say, and it probably is, but I do believe there is some energy subconsciously that will lead you to your vision, and you have the right vision, then you will get there consciously. But a lot of people think about the potential negative outcomes, which is also possible. And somehow your life will lead you to where the vision is. So I constantly trained to visualize all of the things I wanted in my life, not just financially, career, family, friendships, relationships, all of those things. And I believe that I ended up living my vision. I truly believe that I ended up living the visions that I had.
So the visualization, was it something that came from having tools to deal with your illness first?
There's a visualization. I always believed in that stuff. Like I read heavily into the spiritual side of things, mindfulness, law of attraction, that sort of mentality. I believed in that because it had happened to me throughout my life. But at that point, it became a habit where I visualized, being there. I basically tried to connect my emotion to being at the point of success. How would I feel when I wrote 1 million GCI? What am I wearing? What am I hearing at the time? What am I smelling? I'm connecting my senses to all of these things to leave an energy footprint in the universe that then becomes a reality. in my future. And I do believe in that. I think visualization has a real great impact on what happens to you in life.
Did you use any other tool?
I look, dude, I try to do meditation. I'm not religious, but I do believe in karma. I do believe in a lot of spiritual, I guess, beliefs, nature, connecting to nature. So my aim in life is to be as natural as I can. I'm not a big fan of pharmaceuticals. I don't believe that's the right direction for health and
Right.
life. So there's a lot of things that I do every day, cold showers and saunas and meditation and lots of things, breathing exercises to try and sort of balance myself out. I enjoy it. I believe in it. I don't do it as a chore. It's not like I don't want to do it. I actually, I like doing it. I believe it benefits me. So it becomes easy.
Yeah. Alex, so each year that passes, do you go now it's -1?
In what way? Minus, oh, no, yeah, that's a good point. Like, I do think back and go, oh, hey, 2011, 10 years, 2021, I'm still driving. So yeah, I look back at that and go, wow, it's better than I thought.
That's plus
But I'm not
three.
sure. Yeah, that's right. It's nice to think back that way because there's a saying that Tom Panos says, the best gifts in life come badly wrapped.
Yeah.
That's very true. Now, from that learning, from that experience, when something bad happens in my life or my children's life, and my son comes home and says, this happened at school and it's very bad, we recalibrate our mindset and say, look, it's bad today. Maybe. I agree. It's not the best thing. However, let's look back at this in 6 months, 12 months, and see if it was bad or good, because this may lead to some of the best things that will happen to you. You just don't know it yet. So don't think of it as a negative experience. This could have been the most positive experience, but you just can't see it for what it is yet. So it becomes easier to deal with negative outcomes when you have that mindset. So a contract crashes in real estate and you think, oh, geez, I've lost the buyer, deal's crashed. I could have a very negative emotion attached to it. But the way I look at it now is maybe this was the right thing for the buyer, for the seller. Maybe I'll find a better buyer, pay a higher price. Maybe that buyer becomes another client that I'll have for 10 years. Maybe it's a relationship that'll yield many, many transactions. This could be a very good thing. I just don't know it yet. So I just need to make sure that I don't attach negative emotion to negative outcomes.
Okay. So do you use like your conditions now to help your family every time that there's a bit of an issue? And is that what you're using to shape now their way of thinking?
I try to. I mean, I haven't figured it out, so I can't be preaching to
Yeah.
others. I'm trying to figure it out myself. But
Oh,
the things that
I
I've
think,
learned
yeah, I
through
think it's 13
experience,
years. You've already been doing it for a long time.
yeah, there's some things that I've learned through experience that I share with my family so they can deal with things better. And the number one trait in this industry, if you said to me, what's the number one trait of a very good agent? I would say emotional resilience, the ability to deal with things that don't go your way. Because if you've got strong emotional resilience, you will cut through the negative outcomes and you will get to success.
Yeah.
Most people fail because they get to a point where they can't deal with it emotionally.
Yeah.
They feel like they've been rejected, all of those things. So yeah, I do. I try and share that with the family.
Yeah, I mean, in real estate, if you door knock or if you prospect about 50 people a day, you have at least 50 ups and down, right? So
Definitely.
there's enormous amount of fluctuation in terms of our psychology in real estate. And people have to get that and master resilience. But how do you master resilience when you don't have it? And
When
I
you
hear
don't have it,
people
yeah,
who just attended my recruitment course, and the guy arrived 25 minutes late. So I said to him, listen, mate, you wouldn't be late for a plane. And apparently I was a little bit hard. So I'm just thinking, hold on, this kid doesn't know what's about to hit him in this industry. So
yeah.
how do you teach resilience when everyone thinks they're right and everyone thinks they're resilient?
Well, if they think that way, then they'll have no problems in their life. But I promise you, when you dig deep, they all have some problems in their life. So the only time you can improve is if you stand from a position of not knowing. What I mean by that is the person that knows it all cannot learn because they know it all. So anytime I need to look at something, I have to say, I don't really know much about this. So the opportunity to know becomes real, becomes viable. So to the person that is thinking they're emotionally resilient, great. I mean, that's a really big win because I think most people inherently are not. the number one skill to practice to become emotionally resilient, I would say, is gratitude. Become grateful for what you have, not what you might have or what you want to have. Grateful for all the simple things that you have, because in reality, you are living a dream that you once had today. You know, we were young one day. We said, I can't wait to finish school. I can't wait to get my first car. I can't wait to get married. I look forward to having my first home. All of those goals, many of us have achieved. But are we celebrating like we've lived a dream? No, we're not. We've got another dream to replace. And it's this constant journey of wanting to get more and more and more, where the journey becomes a pain and the destination is never reached. Because as soon as you reach one destination, another one comes. That's why you get a billionaire that is very sad because they don't have a helicopter. And his friend bought a helicopter and he has his Rolls Royce, but he doesn't have a helicopter. And he thinks, oh, I can't believe I can't get one of those. My friend got one of those. It doesn't matter what stage you are in life. Or you can be a homeless person and you get a pillow for the night and a blanket and you lay on that pillow and you think, wow, this is awesome. I'm so grateful. So gratitude doesn't come from your environment. It comes from your inherent belief system. You have to reprogram yourself. You have to look at all of the things in your life that you can be grateful for, and everyone has them. I think you practice that consciously. Every morning you wake up, I look at the sun as it rises, I put some meditation music on, and I say thank you for all of the things that I have that were once a dream for me. That position of gratitude makes it very easy to deal with negative outcomes in the future. I think emotional resilience gets built through that, because there's always someone in a much worse position than you. So don't have any self-sorrow, because you're taxing your own psyche when you have that thought.
Okay. So I'm hearing mindfulness. I'm hearing things like meditation. I mean, you're not Buddhist or doing yoga by any chance? No? Okay. I mean, yoga would
No,
be...
no, I'm not. No, I read about it. I read a
Yeah.
lot about it.
Okay.
But no, I'm no expert at
All
anything.
right. So have you changed the way you live life outside real estate since?
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. I mean, I don't, I have to sleep very early. I don't socialize much. I'm not saying that's a good thing. I think it's good to socialize, but depending on how you socialize. I
Yeah.
used to socialize by going out late nights and getting smashed. So the life that I live is quite simple. I work, and when I'm home, I'm home. I don't go out anywhere. I sleep very early. I'm very strict with what I eat. I listen to a lot of podcasts. I try and sort of improve my mentality with that. I do meditation. Yeah, I've made a lot of changes in life. I try and connect with nature a lot. I'm a big believer of those things. I think these things sort of create the human that you are. I believe we are all souls having a human experience. So we're spirit having a physical experience through this body, this clump of material that we call a body. But when I have a problem with someone, let's say I have a disagreement or we have a painful relationship with someone that is very rude to you, very arrogant to you, and sort of dismisses you, I used to get emotionally wired with that relationship. And I used to look at them with dissent, like, oh, what a rude person. And now I try and see through it and say, this is an old soul. They're just having a different experience right now. And there's so many good things about this person that I don't know. A lot of people love this person. They're not nice to me, but they've got friends and family who love them. And I'm sure they're wonderful to those people. I just haven't been able to experience that side of this person. And I'll find that. So you just got to look at it from a different lens, I think.
Were you already thinking like a wise old soul before the illness?
Yeah, to a degree, yes.
Okay.
You know, so to a degree, yes.
Okay. Well, then God inflicted to the right guy, huh? So that he could deal with it because he knows he
Yeah,
could deal with it.
and I wouldn't change things, because some people
Yeah.
ask me, what would you change? I wouldn't change my diagnosis. I'm happy with who I am, where I am, because I feel that everything has a reason in life. And if I said to the universe, take away my disease, the universe might say to me, if I take away your disease, I also take away the 20 years of knowledge from the research that you've done about health. And I take away all that information away as well. I'm not willing to trade because all of that information has given me some insight to give my children a better life, make better decisions for them. My children, 10 and 12 years old, have yet to try McDonald's, Hungry Jack's, KFC ever in their life. So there's little things. I'm not saying that's a big deal, but if I wasn't so into the topic of health and spent years trying to figure how to fix myself, I wouldn't have had the knowledge to be, I guess, where I am today. So I accept what I have in my ailments, but what I've achieved in the information that's come to me as well.
Oh, wow, this is amazing. So hold on, man, you're giving me a lot of information here. You have a team now working around you, right?
I have a wonderful teammate, a team
Okay.
of individuals who, without them, I would be nothing.
Yeah. So do you use that experience of yours to motivate them every day?
Definitely, yeah, definitely. We all are on the same wavelength. They've all sort of somewhat, I guess, been influenced by that to
Yes.
a degree. Everyone's different, but they all can see the benefit of thinking that way, living that way. It becomes contagious. The team culture is something is set from the top, and everyone else follows. And we could reverse that and do a completely different culture. But no, I think it works very well. Everyone seems to enjoy their place in the team. I hope that's the case when you speak to them as well.
Yeah. So you have changed your diet?
Yeah, I'm on a keto diet. I've been
Yeah.
very strict with diet. I have to
Yeah.
be for my condition.
So did you change anything in your exercise?
I do a little bit, not enough, to be honest. I lack exercise in my life. It's something that I need to refocus on. And I've
Yeah.
had times in my career where I would dedicate myself to it, and then work became the bigger sort of, I guess, commitment. And I started to cancel my exercise because of work appointments. And then slowly, habitually, I fell out of my routine. I need to go back to that. But yes, that's something I need to work on.
So did you work more after the illness on the spiritual side?
Yeah, I think I worked more on self-improvement, on accepting my life as it was. Also, career improvement. I really started to research what does it take to be a successful agent,
Okay.
rather than guess. Let's talk to the successful ones, or let's look at their businesses. What are they doing that is working for them? And there were some patterns there that I then was able to replicate.
Yeah, well, that's it. That's a simple part. My part I'm liking is how does a guy get that overnight changes it and now has made what is it sales? What is it last year? You made what is it 150 sales,
So yeah, we're
right?
doing about 10 to 12 million GCI per annum at the moment.
So people go, how do you do all this? And then how does he pass it on to people? These are the things that I'm really interested in because I I myself included, it's hard to change, right? And like most people, we go, well, I start changing tomorrow.
Yeah,
Today I'm busy with this.
yeah,
I've got more important, more urgent things, so I'll deal with that
yeah,
tomorrow.
yeah.
But really, sometimes you need to be told that tomorrow is coming
It's
closer
too
to
late.
you.
It's too late. It's too late. But that mindset is common because everyone feels like they've got an unlimited amount of time to change until it's too late. Then they realize that they've wasted so much time not changing.
Yeah.
So, if I said to you that you have 5 years left to live, your approach to your life would change significantly. You would look at the life very differently. Nothing is tomorrow anymore. Everything is now and today. But that's the mindset that we have to live. This is a precious life. You're here for a blink. It's a blink. It sounds like a long time to live 80 or 100 years, but in the scope of the universe, you're here for a speckle of time. You need to squeeze the most life you can get out of this. And tomorrow is not the time to do that. Tomorrow is too late. Every day, it's like a withdrawal out of the bank account. You've got a certain balance. Every day, your balance is going down until you get to zero, and that's the end date. So let's not delay this anymore. Because I can promise you, the procrastination feeling is the feeling of guilt. That's what happens. When I procrastinated and said, I don't feel good today, I'll make the call tomorrow, I'll knock on the door tomorrow, then I'd go home feeling guilty. Oh, geez, I should have made the calls. I should have done this. The feeling of guilt then ruins your confidence and who you are as a person because you start to question your own ability. It's a toxic process, a cycle. So rather than that, this is the way I used to think. I used to think before you make a call, you have to be in the right mindset, the right mood. So I would say mood first, then call, and hopefully then result. It's been flipped for me. It doesn't matter how you feel. Make the call first. The mood will change from the call. That's the difference. So action first and then the mood. Not get into the right mindset when you're feeling great, then make the call. No, you make the call every day. It doesn't matter how you feel. You can feel like shit, pick up the phone, make the call, don't think about it, stop analyzing it. You don't need to know what to say. It doesn't have to be perfect sentences. You just have a conversation with another human, check in on them, see if you can help them. And it is a numbers game. But the call comes before the mood. Before it used to be mood first, then call. Now it's call, then mood.
No,
But
that's
everything
amazing.
starts with a vision. Everything
That's
starts with a
amazing.
thought. So when we reverse engineer anything in life, any human made product started with a vision. So you have to have the right perspective. That perspective creates a feeling. The feeling creates an action. The action creates a result. The result creates your life outcome. But you
Mhm.
have to start with mindset. It starts in here first. Everything else is downstream from there.
Yeah. But unfortunately, most human beings, we seem to run much faster when the tiger is running behind us.
Yeah,
Until then, we just walk because we relaxed.
yeah,
It's when the
yeah,
tiger is unleashed behind us, we start running like there's no tomorrow. And that's unfortunate. I mean, my brother, when I was 27, my brother had leukemia, and for me, it was a small click because I had to go back to Belgium and give him marrow. And I have spoken to people who have passed on since then, and that sort of like gave me a click. But I still will have to say that it didn't give me a click overnight. It was something that really hit me, and still, like this is first podcast that I still don't know how a man can have a click overnight. I mean,
yeah. It's long wanted, Thomas. I wanted to succeed for a long, long time.
yeah,
I just didn't have the drive, the sort of limited time frame in the back of my head. I just thought when I'm ready, that's when I'll shine. Then I realized that, hang on a sec, it's too late. You have to shine
okay,
today. So,
okay,
and I think if you went through the experience of leukemia yourself, maybe you would see it through a different lens. Because once you hit that brick wall, everything in your life changes. All of the things that you thought were important in life, they take a downward sort of approach, and your health and your life becomes the most important thing. But that was instant for me. The mindset was instant. It became a passion to drive myself to do uncomfortable things. That's what it was. It was doing the things that are uncomfortable. I committed to that because I realized that comfortable things were not going to get me to great outcomes. I've already tried that for 10 to 12 years. I've got to do the opposite, do a 180-degree turn. And it
yeah.
worked. It worked. It took a while, but it did work. Within sort of 6 to 12 months, I started to see results. Within 18 months, I was the dominant agent within the area. So 18 months later, from zero to being the number one agent within the suburb. So it worked fairly efficiently. It didn't take 5 years or 10 years. It was within 1 to 2 years.
Yeah, so I read that about you that you actually embrace delayed gratification. But do you find that you do that in your family now and at home too? Like everything is about
Yeah,
delayed gratification. No, we're not going on holiday
always.
this year. It's gonna be in 10.
Always. Not about holidays, but with screen time, for example. Yeah, my children want to play iPad, and I
Yeah.
don't think it's good for them. I think it's psychologically, all of the iPhone, iPads are having a negative impact on our children's health. I can't completely stop them from having it, but we might go 3, 4 days of no screen. And then on Friday and Saturday and Sunday, you can have some screen. So, yeah, there is a bit of that happening.
That's amazing, man. You need to come to my place and talk a little bit to my kids.
Oh, no, I struggle with my own, man. I struggle with my own.
Okay. So how would you know that you're leading an inspired life now?
Oh, well, I can't define it for anyone else. For me, I can define it for myself. I have a career. I'm stable in my income. I can provide for my family. Both my children go to good schools. I lived in housing commission when I grew up. I went to 8, 9 different primary schools and changed constantly because my parents kept moving from housing commission to housing commission. So I believe the stability that I have in my life, I'm grateful for. I'm grateful that my children can live a life that doesn't have any fear or uncertainty attached to it. I grew up in an environment of fear. I was in Iran during the Iran-Iraq war, where when planes were bombing, we'd turn all our lights off. Everyone would turn their lights off so they don't get seen by the bombing jets. And I would hide in a cupboard. My parents made these cushions and mattresses that I'd hide in during the bombings when the sirens went off. And there was this inherent fear in me as a child that every time I went out and we saw the damage on the streets of who got bombed or which areas got damaged, I always thought one day that's going to be me. I'm gonna get killed. So when I came to Australia, And I still had fear because I thought that's the way to live. You always have to have fear. But I realized that there's nothing to be afraid of, not like where I was before. So I feel a lot for the people going through these struggles in overseas countries like the Palestinians and whoever else you would refer to as going through that. But the feeling of safety is something that we underestimate in this country. So my children feel very safe in their environment. They don't have anyone attacking them. There's no bombs ever. They don't even know about it. So I guess I can feel there's a life, I'm living a life that I feel fulfilled because of those things, where the children have a good life, good education, comfortable, good home. What else can I ask for? Like, freedoms that we enjoy. This is living. I can't ask for much more than that in life.
I think that actually, you're walking example of inspiration, mate. But I, I think that we need probably another podcast where we just talk about that part of inspiration that you can be. But how, do you know, someone like you can inspire a lot of people, and someone like you have got that. But maybe I'm just thinking, maybe for you it's now just normal. It's a new normal for you. Therefore, you don't see it. But
Yeah, I don't recognize it as much
no,
because it's part of who I am now.
yeah.
It's my habits.
So if I was a struggling salesperson now, what would be three pieces of advice you'd give me?
First, I would say have belief in yourself. You're capable, regardless of how many times you get rejected, how many failures you have. This does not define you.
Yeah.
Every failure is a step closer to success. Be persistent. Be willing to do things you're not comfortable with. That's an important one. Number two, go beyond your comfort zone because nothing great is achieved through comfort. So all of the things you're avoiding, whether it's the cold calling, whether it's the door knocking, make a commitment to yourself that regardless of outcome, you will follow process, because process for me will eventually lead to outcome. But a lot of agents are wanting instant gratification. They want to do the activity, get the result, and celebrate. You have to be willing to do activity, do activity, do activity, failure, 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 and then suddenly you start to break into results. So be willing to accept that. Give yourself time. This is not a race. You don't have to be successful tomorrow. This is a long game. Play it smart, build relationships with people, offer value to them, give them something of value without asking for anything back. Add value to every conversation you have with someone else. Give them something, whether you inspire them, whether you give them information about a sale. Give them something to better their life without asking for anything back, because the law of the universe is that when you give, the universe will give back and it will balance out in your favor eventually. So be willing to give without expectation of return. That's one thing that I think is very vital as well. There's probably many things to say to a junior agent. Associate yourself with the right people. This is really vital. You are a reflection of your environment. If you've got negative people telling you can't do things, either use that energy to prove them wrong or get out of the environment, because you can do anything. If you don't think you can write 10 million, I promise you that you can, because I was writing less than 400 for 10 to 12 years. And you said to me, I can write 10 million. I would have said, no way. I'm not going to even get to 1 million. Stop telling me 10 million. That's a ridiculous number. Who's ever going to write 10 million? Believe that you can, because if you don't believe in it, you're not going to then act that way. Also, be grateful for the opportunity. You're in an industry where you can earn anything you want. You have no education. You don't need any qualifications, and you have no cap to the potential. You can earn more than a surgeon can. At least acknowledge that you have this opportunity in front of you so you can take advantage of it. Because if you don't see the opportunity for what it is, you're probably not going to take advantage of it. And what you'll do in 2 years' time is you'll go get a job for 80,000 a year. They'll make you work 9 to 5. They'll get you to do all the things you didn't want to do in real estate that you avoided doing because you had little discipline, but you'll still do it because you have to for 80K a year. Whereas here you could have made 2, 3, 500 a year or more. So there's a lot of things that could be said to a junior agent. The other thing I would say to them is, if you're, 18, 20, 25 years old and you're new to the industry and you're struggling, don't take that as the answer, because the success is there if you want it. I like to do an exercise. That person should visualize their future self when they're 50 years old, 60 years old, 80 years old, and interview their future self and ask themselves at whatever age, give me the answer of what I should be doing now. Because you'll find that that'll give you some perspective around life. When I interview my 80-year-old self, it's telling me things that I don't think of today. So it's just looking from a different lens, I guess.
This is amazing. Listen, mate, this is gonna have to be finished soon, so I'm gonna ask you one last question. How is your health these days?
Health is good, man. It's good. Like, look, sure, I could be better. Always could be better. But no, I am very happy with how I'm progressing with my health. I'm managing the condition. I've got Crohn's disease as well, which is a bowel disease. So everything in my life, I cannot ask for more at the moment. Very grateful for everything. Work, health, family. Couldn't ask for more.
Mate, and I'm very grateful that you shared this gem with us, and hopefully this gonna also make a difference to somebody else's life. I thank you so much for your time today,
So,
and
pleasure, bro.
we'll be in touch, mate. Thank you so much,
Awesome.
Alex.
Take it. My
Thank you.
pleasure. Happy to be here.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. See you. Bye bye.